So last two classes, we focused our learning on understanding what are data pages all about and how exactly we can create them. What do they bring on to the table with respect to understanding, the data model, as well as how do we utilize data pages in Pega to enhance the application or make it more, reusable. Perfect. We saw all the scopes and the journey of a data page with different scopes is something which we understood. Today, we will be trying to learn another concept. This is a concept which is specific to user interface in designing user interface, and it is commonly referred to in industry as the cascading effect. Uh, the cascading dynamic select is what in Pega we call that. We also call that cascading drop down because a few terminologies have changed. What do we mean when we say cascading is something which we have to understand. Cascading is nothing but the change of one value based on the change of another value. What do we mean by that? If you remember when we started our classes, we planned that we'll be building an insurance application, and then we saw how exactly progressive insurance application was asking us details and was taking us through a journey of certain data which it is asking us before it generates a code for us for a given insurance policy. Something which you can notice when you try to fill such forms, also when you're using other applications, also you'll be seeing that based on, for example, here if I say Ford in the make, the values of the next drop down are changing. Yes or no? Maverick, Mustang, Mustang, Match E, Mustang, Shelby, Ranger, stuff like that. Now, let us say I change this to Honda. I would see, Accord, Civic, Civic hatchback. Yes or no? Am I able to see that, guys? Right. What do we call that effect? Based on the value you have chosen on top, the later values are getting modified. Yes or no? See, if I say Kia, now the values are different. Forte, Nero, Salto, Sorrento. And it makes sense, right? It makes sense because you don't want to show all the values here, all the car models here. You only want to show which is specific to Kia. Same thing is true for anything. Hyundai, if I choose Hyundai, then the Hyundai values are getting updated here. So someone is doing it, right? When you're trying to choose this application is smart enough. Based on your choice, it is changing the next drop down. This is nothing but cascading effect. They call it cascading dynamic select. Why? Because dynamically you are selecting something and dynamically this drop down is changing to something which is specific to this particular make. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? So all we are trying to do here is based on the value of the first selection, the second selection is getting filtered or the corresponding values are getting loaded. This effect is nothing but called as cascading effect, cascading drop down, cascading dynamic select. Is anyone else also facing the same issue? Okay, I'm not sure. Maybe if you want to drop a, sure, perfect. Yeah. Mm, okay. So dynamic select or cascading drop down option is this. Cascading drop down is nothing but based on what value you have selected in the make, the model is changing here. See, Fiat, you only are seeing two values because it's almost dead here. US doesn't have any Fiat models. The only existing model they support is 500X. It makes users journey in, in the application smooth because you are giving him filtered values. Unlike in our application, if we see our application for the matter of fact, let us go here and I will say, oops. So we also are designing that similar sort of an insurance application which helps us build codes for auto insurance. And piece by piece, we are learning these concepts and stitching that with the application we are trying to build, right? Yesterday, we incorporated the data pages change to our application. Today, we are trying to see what exactly a cascading drop down option is in UI. Almost every application will have this, but you need to know how to design it. This is where you are enhancing your user interface skill set. So if someone asks you, what have you worked in Pega, you should be, confident to tell these are the areas I am good at. I understand how data pages are created. I understand what are report definitions. I understand what are sections. I can design section, user interface sections. User interface category is something which I have worked on. You know, this should be your answer, and only this can only happen if you do sufficient hands-on by yourself. If you just keep listening, it is it is going to stay there as long as your brain can resist it. But in Urdu, in Hindi they say, like, "Sau bakna ek likhna." It's like, 100 times you can say, but once if you write, it gets wetted in your head. Same thing is true with application development also. As many times you can listen, but once you do it, that is when you can engrave that in your head. With that also, it gets rusty. If you don't use it often, it gets rusty, but you should make it a point that you need to keep refreshing it by working on the tool as much as possible. And it's easy to install it and run it locally. So make it a point that you practice whatever we are doing here. Look at it, practice it piece by piece. You might hit up some issues, or there might be understanding gaps. Only then you will understand, okay, this is something which I have not understood. You can come back to me and you can ask me. That is something I request in you to do. Okay, so now if you see any of our cases, I'll open here. 7005, yesterday's case. We are trying to see if we have similar sort of you know functionality implemented here. I'm sure we haven't, but we'll try to see if we have. See, the drop down keeps changing based on the selection. Perfect. So I will say go. I haven't implemented it here. Cancel. Let me create one more work object, and there we will see it. On the customer screen, we do have few drop downs, right, which we have implemented. Let's try to see there. Actions, run. Now here, if you see, already my city is defaulted to Bangalore, and Hyderabad. So let us say if I select the state, let us see if the city drop down changes. Is it changing, guys? Is it changing? Yes, no. No, it is not, because we haven't implemented anything like that. Don't you think that is an improvement we can add to our application? We can add that improvement to our application, right? Yes or no? Right? Let's try to do that. So today what we are trying to do is we are going to enhance our application to be able to, switch based on the state you choose. The city should get the drop downs related to that particular state. For example, if I choose Karnataka, it should give me Bangalore, Mysore, stuff like that. Same thing for Telangana. If I choose, it should give me Sikandrabad, Hyderabad, Vizag, or anything like that. Same thing is true for Tamil Nadu. Let's try to see if we can implement something like that, exactly similar to what we saw here, with less values, but we'll understand how exactly it is done. That is the takeaway from today's class. Okay. Is the requirement clear, guys? What we are trying to achieve? Perfect. Let me open my section which we will be accessing. This is the customer details section where we have configured this. Right, we have configured this here. Let me open my city control. Okay, it is configured to use drop down, which is good. Okay, uh, perfect. Now let us try to open this property, and I can open this property from here, right? And you will see that in this property we have given some static values. Yes or no? Do we see the static values? Right, so let me remove this. I don't want these static values. I want to dynamically set them, and I'll use a data type to do that. Let me delete this. I don't want this. Delete it. Right, and in the prompt list I will say none. Okay, and I'll save this. We have done this before also. If you guys have any doubts, you can stop me and I'll explain it in much detail. All we did was we opened that existing city property, and we checked off the static values which we are loading. Why? Because we want to dynamically be able to load it. That's what we want to do. After this, what I will do, I want to see if I have a data type for city. I don't think we have created one. So for cities, I don't think I have a data type. What do we do to create a data type? We go to the data types from the Explorer, click on this drop down and say add data type. And this is a new data type I want to create. I'll call it cities data type, or I'll call it cities table. Right, like states table, I'll call it cities table. Perfect. I'll expand this and I will see if it is getting created under the corresponding this thing. And Pega is also, what is it doing? By default, it is creating me a class, a data class for cities table, which is good. Parent class is data. Perfect. I'll say submit. I think I missed something here, I guess. Okay, let me delete this. Can I delete this from here? No, I guess I have to modify the parent class. Okay, one show in App Explorer, and I also want to modify the the parent class for this thing, and I will say the parent class will be alpha hyphen data, because I want this to be part of organizations class. I don't want it to be specific to just the implementation application, because cities data is something which should be common across. That is why I want this to be across. Does the name change? No. Okay, let me delete this. RM defined on it. Okay, I have to delete those rules to delete this. Okay, let me open the data types. Cities table. One step, we have missed it and it is gone. Alpha hyphen data. Okay, perfect. Let us try to create with this only and see how it helps us. Perfect. Okay, now I want to add certain properties to it. What properties do I need, or what fields do I need as part of this particular data type? I would need a, as we did for state, we need a city code. We need a city code, right? We need a city code, and we need another city name, and I will also add something called as state code. I'll tell you why do we need this. Okay, submit. Now I should be able to see three properties here, three fields which are present as part of this particular data type. Okay, that is done. Perfect. Now also what I'll try to do, I'll go to the records and I have to specify what should be the key for this particular data type, which we did for states also. If you remember, when we created the states table, we went to the records and we told, okay, this is going to be the key. In the sense, every table should have a key, right, to access that. Same thing we are trying to do here. We are telling city code will be the key for this cities table. Yes or no? Did we do this for states table when we created it? Right. Perfect. Submit. And I think we'll be close. Okay, perfect. Close. Perfect. All I did was created a data type, cities table, added three columns, came to records and selected a key. If you want to modify the columns, you can do it as well. You can click on actions here and you can say modify columns, and you can modify the columns. If there is any editing you want to do, you can do that, right? See, if you click here, you'll be able to see how you can modify or edit any columns. See, if you want to remove a certain column, you can remove, you can add like that. I'll move this guy after this guy. Okay, see, I can do that also. So now submit. The state code came at the end. Perfect. Let me save this. Let's add the records here. So what we did, we removed all the static records which were there on the city drop down, through a prompt list, and then we are replacing that with a data type, a data type, and we are saying we want to add few values to it also. What are those values? For example, city code. Let me say HYD is Hyderabad. This will be Telangana state. I'm going to add another value for Hyderabad. We'll say SC will be Sikandarabad. Okay, so just to have multiple values when you try to select, right? And I will say uh, MYS Mysore, and I will say KA Karnataka will be the state code for it, and I will say ban, and I will say Bangalore KA will be the state code for that. Similarly, I will say Chennai CHN, and it will be Chennai, and this will be TN Tamil Nadu, and I can add Madurai also, MN Madurai, and I will say TN. So two values is what we have received here. For Maharashtra also I will add, I will say PN, I will say Pune, and MH Maharashtra will be the code for that. Similarly, I will say MU will be Mumbai, and I will say MH will be the code for this. Understood, guys? Are you able to understand what we did here? Just pretty basic stuff. What we have already done is what we are doing here. Now, we need to create a cascading effect on this particular uh, using this cities, using the states selection. We need to be able to filter the values of city, right? To do that, what we need to configure a report definition so that we can fetch these values and perform that particular filter with respect to whatever state was chosen. For example, if I pick KA, I should be getting Mysore and Bangalore in the drop down. That's what we are trying to achieve here. Okay, to do that, let me go to the cities table class, and let us try to create a report definition from App Explorer, cities table class. Okay, I am here. All I want to do is right click on this thing, create report definition. Why am I creating this? I want to fetch these values. We know how to filter values using report definition, right? We saw that when we did the report definition class. Didn't we see how to filter values based on where conditions as well as parameters? Did we see that? Yes or no? Right? We are going to use the same concept. All I am doing is the the data type class which got created when I created a data type. I'm coming there and I'm saying create a report definition for me. Right click on that data table class and then create from reports, create a report definition. And exactly like get states, this will be get cities. I want to get cities. What is this? This is just a report definition I'm trying to create to access the data. Okay, perfect. And I'll say create and open. Now this will help me fetch records from from the table where these values are sitting. All the new values which we added, they are sitting in the cities table, right? From there I can fetch it. How? Very simple, right? We have done this in past. If you remember, dot city code dot city name and city code, right? I can say this, and then when I run, the resulting thing should be all the records which we created just now. See, we have done this, right? We did this in past, yes or no? When we did report definition, see, we got all the city code and city names. We have done this. Also what we did was we understood how parameterization is done. That's why I'll use one parameter called state code. What is state code? Based on the state code, I want to filter the values, yes or no? Yes or no, guys? The state code based on Karnataka, I want to filter their Mysore and Bangalore. Based on Telangana, I want to filter their Hyderabad and Sikandrabad. Exactly similar to what we saw here. Cascading, dynamic select, cascading drop down is what we are trying to achieve. Perfect. I took a parameter here called state code. Okay. Let me come back to query tab. Right. And here what I will say, I want to use that particular uh, condition. How will I use that condition? How can I access a parameter? How can I access a parameter? Param dot, right? It's a param dot, and I should be getting that particular state code which we have created. Okay, save, copy this, Control C, query that. See, it should prompt me here. It's not showing. Let us see what is happening with that. And then the column sources. I do have state code column in this particular table, right? Didn't we add that? If you see the data type, we have added the state code also. Yes or no? Have you added that? See, in the cities table, there are three columns: city name, say city name, city code, and state code. This state code is what I am referring to because this is part of the same table. I can refer that state code here. Is it understood, guys? Perfect. And then this is one condition which we are able to specify. Now I want to be able to select values also. Let us see what does the select values give us. See, is it giving me the values like Karnataka, MS, TN, and TS? Just to validate if your param is going to fetch proper records. Is it showing us? Perfect. That is fine. And I want to open the settings of this particular filter, and I should be able to at runtime pass values. Didn't we understood that when we use null if empty, we will see null records, but we can pass dynamic parameters and then fetch the records? Did we do that when we learned report definition conditions? See, I use this option and I say submit. Now when I run this, you will see, sorry, let me save it. Now, this is something which I've already done. If you guys have any doubts, I can explain, ask me. Run this and you will see zero records. Why? Because you have not passed any state code. Just edit that and tell MH, apply the change. Am I getting Pune and Mumbai? We did this, right, guys? All of you who have attended, do you concur? Do you agree to this thing? Yes, no, right? Yeah, the report definition class and specifying parameters and conditions is what we did. So what we are saying is we are going to use this report definition, pass these values and fetch the records. We can do that, right? We're just passing a parameter. See, we just created a report definition which is acting like a mediator between this states table and wherever you're going to use this. I'll show you how exactly you are going to do it. Don't worry about that. We know that, okay, this is working. We tested it just now. Now what we will do, we'll call this report definition in the city dropdown. Let us do that, right? Let us go to the section where we are designing this thing, and let me go to it is under the city dropdown, right? Perfect. It's had to come below, but let us see if I can move this just below. Okay, country, state, and city. Now it looks good. Now let us go to this particular city drop down and let us try to configure it. Right, state we know is getting selected. Come on. Okay. Now to select that particular city, I'll click on the cell and I'll click on this gear icon to see the properties. Here I should be able to choose the source. Yes or no? Will I be able to choose the source here? Perfect. So I let me include a placeholder in the sense what should we show when we are showing this particular property, right? And I will say select a city here. Previously, if you remember, it was defaulting to whatever value was there in that static list. It was defaulting to Bangalore, and we are saying it is defined as defined on property is what it is here. This I don't want because I know that we can configure data page, clipboard page, and report definition. I will choose report definition, right? And then I will tell which class does it apply to. It applies to our data class, right? What is our data class? City stable data class, which is this guy. Yes or no? And in this cities data class, I have created a report definition. Get cities. We created this, right? Yes or no? Perfect. And what should be the parameter here, which has to be passed to get records? State, right? If you remember, when we configured the state dropdown, we told that we will be saving the state code in the background. We can pass that, right? We can pass the state code. Yes or no? Or state to be a matter of fact. I can pass the state here. Yes or no, guys? Does it make sense? Perfect. And this is the property value for what? It should be for dot state code, sorry, city code, and the display should be the name. We did this, right? For state, this is exactly a cycle which we did. Yes or no? Do we agree? Did we see this? Right, perfect. So same thing we are doing, but you are seeing, you are understanding how exactly you can control the user interface and make sure based on this dropdown, these dropdowns get populated. Just stitching the data type concept, the section designing concept, and the report definition concept together. And we are trying to redesign our user interface. Let us run this. Did I save it? Sorry. Run. Execute. Should show you the UI with the latest changes, right? Here, let's not test here, we'll test in the work object. That will make you feel much better with respect to what we are trying to achieve. Actions, run. Should create 8001 for us. 002. Perfect. And I'll say my favorite students, I guess. Easy to remember. At gmail.com. 25 meal. See, we haven't implemented anything like that here. That is why it is defaulting to India. Here I will say, let's say he's from Karnataka. Do you see this? No, he moved to Tamil Nadu. No, he moved to Telangana. Is this exactly similar to what we saw here? Judge, Challenger. Easy to design, right? In Pega, I don't think this is really challenging. If you know these rules exist to achieve this, I think you can do it for any number of data. Yes or no? Now we can enhance this. How did we enhance yesterday? We told, hey, this is good, but what we can also do is based on, we can also create a data page and do this, right? Right? Let's try to do that, you know. Now we were able to successfully do this using report definition call and we modified it. right? Now let's try to enhance this further, and to a possible extent, we always need to redesign it to limit the number of calls to database. Yes or no? Why am I taking you through this journey is because you need to know, because the applications you go into will have this all these rooms for improvements. When it is given, you should be able to identify, oh yeah, we are using this, I think we can replace this with data pages. This is a report definition call which is happening for each and every work object. I think we can replace this with data page. Yes or no? We can identify now, right? When you look at a user interface, a drop down, how it is getting loaded, what is the source for it, is it coming from the right sources, how many times, if they say this particular screen is really slow, you know where to go and look, right? Where exactly database calls are happening. Yes or no, guys? Perfect. Now, let us do one thing. Let's try to create a data page and try to enhance this application further, right? So how will I do it? I should be able to create a data page under this data class, the cities table data class. Let us right click on the data class. How will I create it? Right click there, create data model and data page. Yes or no? Right, perfect. Now I will say create a data page for me. Like I said, every time you create a data page, D underscore gets added to it. In the previous versions, it was called declare pages. Get cities is what I'm creating under this particular class. Say create and open, and it will be creating a D underscore get cities data page for me. And if you see, this data page also has parameters. Yes or no? This data page also has parameters. Let me get the state code exactly how we got it in the report definition. String. Okay, perfect. I defined a parameter. I'm taking a state code as parameter for this particular data page. In the definition, I want to change, it's not a page, it's a list of records which are going to come. So I change it to list, right? And then let us keep it to thread for now. Don't worry about that. We have already understood that, so you can enhance it based on what it needs to be. Let's come down to the data source. We saw how to configure report definition here, right? Didn't we see that? The first thing on the day one for data pages, we saw how report definition can be configured here. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Did we see that? Yes. Perfect. So to do that, what I will do, I'll come here and I'll look for any data any report definition which is already there. So if you see, there is get cities, right? Are you able to find the get cities? Yes or no? We are seeing the get cities, right? But we also know that this particular report definition accepts parameters. We defined a parameter in report definition, right? Did we? Perfect. Now let us open this parameters. Okay, and it is telling what do you want to pass here. In when we want what you want to pass here is the state code which is being chosen here. Let me say param dot state code. All we are doing here is there is a report definition already existing which accepts state code as a parameter and filters the records. But to be able to pass it to the report definition from a data page, in data page you should accept that particular state code as a parameter. That's what we are doing here. Does it make sense? Closing this, coming back again. All we did here was created a data page, came to parameters, chose state code as a parameter for this particular data page, and from definition I chose list because it's a list sort of data, multiple records are coming, so it's a list. And I told get cities is my report definition which we have already created here. Yes or no? This is the report definition we created which accepts state code as parameter. Yes or no? Is it not what we are passing here and filtering the records? With me, guys? Perfect. And in parameters on the new data page which we are creating, I'm saying get cities is what we are using, but I'll be passing that particular parameter as a parameter from data page also. Why? I'll show you. Param dot state code. Just remember we are choosing this here. Save it. Perfect. Done. Now, when I go back to my customer details section, right now city is configured to use report definition, right, as a source. Yes or no? Perfect. Let us come back here and say, bro, why don't you use data page? So it's slightly slow. Please don't mind. Okay, not state. See, the state also is configured for data page, which we did yesterday. Yes or no? Get states. We did yesterday. Today, we are playing around with this guy. And we want to change the source for this. Right now, it is configured to report definition. Yes or no? Let us change this to data page. Okay, what is the data page? D underscore get cities. D underscore get cities. This is the data page we created. But it is also asking me for a parameter. Yes or no? I can pass the state here, right? Property value for display dot and for display I want city name. Did we understand, guys? Not saving this, cancelling and coming back again. All we did it here today was created a data type for city and removed the static list, created a data type, using that data type created a report definition, fetched the records, configured a parameter and saw if the parameter is working, replace that on the user interface here. Right now if you see, report definition is configured here. We want to enhance it further, so we are saying, hey, let's use data page, and the data page is d underscore get cities, which we created, and the parameter will be state, which I want to pass, and the property is which I want to store is state city code. I want to display city name is what I am saying. Is this understood, guys? The configuration which we are doing here. Perfect. Very good. So let me submit this and save. Perfect. This is done. Let us go to customer flow. Try to execute this guy and see if this is working for us. 8003. Nikhil Pari at email.com. Right, and 25 mail. India is by default because we didn't do anything here. Let us say he likes Telangana. Maybe his family belongs there, or they speak Telugu, or whatever it is. Let's say Hyderabad is what he has to choose. Are we seeing it is working fine, guys? Do we understand how we can configure or create cascading dynamic selects, cascading dropdowns based on the first value, second dropdown value is changing. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Are we able to understand? See? Saved. Data got saved also. See? City name, CHN, state, TN. We are saving the property values as codes, though the display is coming as name. So today's takeaway is that we can configure cascading dynamics. Every application will have that. When you try to design your UI, maximum people face challenges here. They don't understand how to populate values there. If you go and open forums or anywhere, they'll be like, oh, I'm trying to select some value, but the data is not coming there. Don't we know how to look for source? What should be the source for a given dropdown? Yes or no? Ultimately, it should be coming from one of these sources. Either it should be available on clipboard page, right? Either the control itself should have those values. For example, the country control already has those values. See, static values which we have defined. Either it should be static value, or it should be, a report definition which is getting called, or it should be a clipboard page which is already sourcing the data, or it should be a data page. Do we understand how data can be sourced for any drop downs or any properties? Yes or no, guys? We did that, right? For example, when we configured data page as node at the node level, that that particular page was already present at report. If you go and see the cities, the node level data page, this is clipboard. Do we agree? This is clipboard. When I access the clipboard, now when I go inside the node level page in under data pages, I'll see that clipboard is already having the states. That is why we are able to access them. Yes or no? You can configure and tell. It could be thread, it could be requester, it could be, yeah, anything. Right now, the data page which we have told is at thread level. See, did we create data page at thread level? If you see the work object, right, work object is closed. Let me open the work object. You will be able to understand. So 8003. See, when I open 8003 and I navigate to the clipboard page, you will see at thread level you have the clipboard page populated. Where is this guy? Cities table should be populated d underscore get cities. Interesting. It's not loaded yet. Did we select any values? Yes, we have selected. Let me create. Maybe it. Oh, I have to access it once more to create it, I guess. Let us try to see if it is getting done that way. Run. Sorry, I had to trace it. Anything which you don't understand, you just go to the Debugging action. Run it. You should be able to see. See, is it again going and creating a data page? It is telling the instant is already found. And then when it is creating the new work object, it is telling data page load begin. Yes or no? Get data class, get cities. Does it make sense, guys? Yes. Purely, see, given an opportunity, you should go for deep page. Given an opportunity, you should go for deep page. If there is any complication, you won't be able to use it, there is a challenge, you will be knowing that when they try to explain you the requirement, you will be knowing when you come back and look at your data, if the data is having certain challenge, if that has to be obtained from an external party or something like that, then you will again decide. You'll try to brainstorm with your lead system architect telling that, hey, these are the options available. You're trying to use data page for us, for example, let us say, but you're not able to hold the data, or if the operation is taking too long, if you find out any issues are there, you'll try to debug from there. Then you will see, okay, maybe if we can load this data on clipboard page and keep it, you know, like that. Or if it is just only once you are going to use it, you don't want to store it on the clipboard, it might have like 10,000 records, but holding it on clipboard might be a overhead for you. If you're only using once, only one unique user is going to use it, there is no point in creating a data page. Yes or no? If it is not being utilized, then you will go for report definition, right? It's more of trying to think in terms of how exactly it will benefit your application. It is also a zone you will reach once you start developing more. You will be going into that zone. It's like that, you know so you have to think more in terms of how exactly this application can become better. Always try to look at it from a user's perspective and see what would be a frustration point for a user when using this application, and how exactly using Pega can you ease those pain points. It's all about that. Perfect, no problem. Any other questions, guys? No problem. Thanks. Anyone else has any questions? Yes, no. If not, I think I'll call it a day today. Thank you for joining, and you have a great weekend, guys. Thanks. Thanks. Bye.